For generations, Canada's prosperity has been tied to one single powerful partner to the south.
But what happens when that partner becomes unpredictable? When tantrums and tariffs threaten to upend our entire economy?
You don't just get mad, they get smart. And right now, Canada is quietly executing a brilliant new plan to secure its own future.
Today, we're connecting the dots from the high Arctic to Mexico. We're going to show you how Canada is declaring its economic independence.
So how did we get here? It started with a series of threats and excuses designed to bully Canada into submission. First up, the fentanyl lie.
Oh, this is my favorite. According to Trump, Canada is the Walter White of North America, pouring fentanyl over the border.
It's a terrifying story, and it would be even more terrifying if it were actually true. Here's a reality check. U.S. authorities confirm that less than 0.1% of the fentanyl they seize comes from Canada. Last year, that was just 59 pounds.
59 pounds! We spill more beer than that during the third period of a Leafs game. Meanwhile, over 61,000 pounds were seized at the Mexican border. But sure, let's blame the polite neighbor with a public health strategy and Mounties instead of the actual source.
It's a convenient lie to justify an economic shakedown. While Trump is crying wolf about a problem that doesn't exist, Canada has been aggressively tackling the global fentanyl crisis. We appointed a national fentanyl czar, launched a joint US-Canada strike force, and shut down dozens of illegal drug labs.
We even listed transnational cartels as terrorist entities and passed the Strong Borders Act, which has cut illegal crossings into the US from our side by 90%. We are doing more to secure the border than they are.
So let's call this what it actually is, a distraction. Because if we want to talk about real deadly cross-border crisis, then let's talk about guns. Thousands of illegal firearms used by gangs in our cities are smuggled into Canada from the United States every year.
Exactly. So while he makes up stories about Canadian fentanyl, he's awfully quiet about American guns flooding our streets. This isn't about keeping Americans safe. It's about finding an excuse to punish Canada for not bending the knee.
And the excuses don't stop at fentanyl. Trump is also furious about Canadian milk.
You can't make this stuff up. He and his billionaire buddy Howard Lutnick are complaining that Canada's dairy market is closed. They're angry that we're not buying enough American milk products to meet the quota in the very trade deal Trump signed himself.
Oh, I know, it's a tragedy. All those American dairy conglomerates making a product that can't even legally be called milk in Quebec. We'll send them some butter tarts to cheer them up. How about that?
He made the deal, then he broke the deal, and now he wants a better deal. It's not the art of a deal, it's the art of a shakedown. Our supply management system is designed for Canadian farmers and consumers. We drink our own milk, thank you very much.
Yeah. Our deepest apologies. We're just too busy with our poutine and all-dressed chips to develop a taste for neon orange cheese spray.
Let's be honest, Canada's market isn't closed. We just don't want your hormone-filled milk or your cheese in a can.
It's a pattern of extortion is what it is. And you know what the funniest part is? It's not even working. The latest numbers show Canada's trade deficit with the US is shrinking, partly because Canadians are consciously choosing not to buy American. We're taking a stand with our wallets. And to make things even more bizarre, while Trump's threatening to kneecap our economy, his administration sends a bipartisan group of US senators up to Ottawa on a damage control tour.
Oh, I love this political theater. You had senators like Lisa Murkowski from Alaska saying Trump's 51st state rhetoric is not constructive, and telling us how much they value our friendship.
It's the ultimate good cop, bad cop, right? They come here, say all the right, friendly things for the cameras, and act shocked that we're upset.
All the while, they go back to Washington and vote to support the very administration that's trying to kneecap our economy. Sorry, But that ship has sailed, sunk, and is now being salvaged for parts by a more reliable trading partner. While Trump was trying to strong-arm us, we were doing something a little bit more productive.
We teamed up with Mexico, and together we're building a North American trade corridor that goes around the United States entirely.
This isn't a stunt, everybody. It's a multi-billion-dollar logistics project. Canada Pacific Kansas City is already running bonded freight trains from Canada to Mexico without stopping for U.S. customs.
They're sealed, tracked, and just pass through. The U.S. actually approved the merger that created the railway, so unless they want to break international law and pick a fight with both Canada and Mexico, they can't stop it.
So the train is basically wearing a diplomatic seal. It's like a UN convoy, but for essential auto parts and the avocados that are about to become the star of your summer backyard barbecue. Love it.
Yeah. Analysts say the U.S. could lose $69 billion in tax revenue because of this. But hey, if Trump wants to make it harder to trade with them, well then you know what? We'll take our business elsewhere. And that is exactly what we're doing. People ask, why not just hit back with tariffs? Well, former Bank of Canada Governor Mark Carney's logic is simple. Tariffs are a tax on working people. You don't punish your own citizens to make a political point.
You don't get in a mud wrestling match with a pig. Instead, you find new partners. While Trump yells at us, we're finalizing deals with the UAE, strengthening our CETA deal with Europe, and negotiating with a South American market of over 260 million people.
We're not retaliating. We are rerouting. We're not building walls, we're building bridges. We're making ourselves essential to everyone else.
So if Trump thinks he can isolate Canada, too late, buddy. We went global.
And this isn't just happening with steel. This exact strategy is playing out in real time. Last week, Prime Minister Carney met with all of the premiers up in Muskoka, and he kicked it off by promising to only accept the best deal for Canada.
But it's the premiers who dropped the real bombshell. Ontario's Doug Ford, Saskatchewan's Scott Moe, and Alberta's Danielle Smith signed an agreement to build an oil pipeline to Ontario that runs entirely within Canada.
Wow, this is a direct response to the constant threats from Michigan to shut down Line 5, the pipeline that currently supplies Ontario with Western oil by running through the U.S.
Premier Ford didn't mince words. He said, and I'm quoting directly, "We can't rely on the Americans anymore." Simple as that.
It's a massive shift. For decades, we've risked our energy security on a pipeline that crosses another country. Now, there's a united front saying, never again.
It only took 70 years, a court battle, and a trade war to realize that the best way to get oil from Alberta to Ontario is through Ontario. Who knew?
And that stand, that powerful, quiet resistance, is about more than just milk or money. It's about who we are as a country.
Exactly. This is about whether Canada will stand up to a bully who was besties with a guy whose flight logs now read more like a criminal indictment. And no, we are not letting that go.
No way. And the proof that our resistance is working comes directly from Trump's own ambassador. He's the one who let it slip that they think we're being nasty.
He said it's because regular Canadians, people like you watching right now, are canceling their Florida vacations and boycotting American booze. It's because we, the people, have stopped giving them our money.
And the premiers are feeling it too. BC's David Eby said it perfectly this week in Muskoka.
He said, and I'm quoting, "Do they think Canadians are not going to respond when the president says, 'I want to turn you into the 51st state and beggar your economy unless you bow to the US?' Obviously, Canadians are outraged."
Let that sink in. The grassroots movement is hitting them so hard that the President of the United States is complaining about it. What you're doing is working.
That's right. Elbows up, Canada. And if that makes us nasty, good.
Nasty is the new patriotic. So when we said in the opening that we would connect the dots on how Canada is making the US irrelevant, we meant it. While the politicians trade insults, Canada has been quietly building the future of our trade. And it starts in a place most people wouldn't expect.
The Canadian Arctic.
When most people think of Churchill, Manitoba, they picture polar bears and beluga whales. But Churchill isn't just a bucket list destination anymore, it's becoming Canada's Arctic powerhouse.
That's right. It's home to the only deep-water Arctic port in North America and the shortest shipping route to Europe. That means less fuel, fewer delays, and more independence.
And the big news? That they just completed a new critical mineral storage facility, tripling the port's capacity. We're talking lithium, copper, and the rare earth elements the world is scrambling for.
I heard the polar bears are unionizing, Dave. They're demanding better dental and a bigger cut of the critical minerals trade. Apparently, they're very tired of just being on the toonie.
And what makes it even better is that this isn't some faceless corporate project. It's operated by the Arctic Gateway Group, which is a partnership of 29 First Nations and 12 Manitoba communities.
It's Indigenous-led, community-driven, and fully operational. So while Trump's threatening tariffs, Churchill is quietly strengthening Canada's sovereignty.
So we're building new routes to get around the tariffs. But what about protecting our most critical industries right here at home? Well, Prime Minister Carney showed us exactly how that's done with Canadian steel.
This is brilliant. Instead of just slapping on random retaliatory tariffs that hurt everybody, Canada is performing surgical protection. They're tightening import restrictions from certain countries and adding a targeted 25% tariff specifically on steel that was melted and poured in China.
They're also launching a Canada First procurement plan. So, if you get a big government contract to build a bridge or a building, you have to use Canadian steel. Full stop.
It's so simple, it's genius. It's like your mom telling you can't have dessert until you finish the vegetables on your plate. Except the vegetables are billions of dollars in domestic steel contracts.
And for the thousands of steel workers impacted by this trade dispute, the government is rolling out a $1 billion fund for training and innovation, plus millions more in direct income support. So we're not just protecting the metal, we're protecting the people who make it.
It proves our government has a plan that's more sophisticated than just yelling louder on Truth Social. They're rewriting the rules to benefit our own.
So when you put it all together, the trade corridors, the global deals, the facts versus fiction, you realize this has never been just about tariffs, it's about sovereignty.
It's about whether Canada gets to make its own decisions. When the message from the US is, fall in line or face the penalty, our response is clear. We'll trade with the world, thank you very much.
It just proves that Canadian politeness was never about being quiet. It's the confidence of knowing that you don't have to yell when you have a better plan.
We want to know what you think. Is Canada's strategy the right one? Let us know in the comments below. And make sure you're subscribed and click on that bell so you don't miss one of our videos. You'll get them right in your inbox.
And if you want to support the channel directly, you can become part of our community by clicking the Join button. Welcome to the A-Team.
And to show your pride, we've got Canada Strong and Nasty and Patriotic merch in our store. The link is always in the description. Thanks for watching, and remember, elbows up.